Hello, everybody. We're going to get started with ounce equivalent. I did send an email out this morning. It had the slides and it also had some handouts with it. If you did not get it, it always goes the way our training calendar is set up. Whoever is on the business maintenance page as the CACFP contact, that's who it goes to. So if there's multiple people signed in, it's the person, whoever is the contact in the business maintenance page, who received the email. When we had COVID, we've been using the training calendar about a year. And then when COVID happened, we needed to do a lot of things it wasn't doing. So we're just kind of making it inch along. We want to make some changes to it. But right now, eventually we would like it to, for every person that is registered, you would have to put an email address in there so it can go to other emails besides that one. If you did not get the email, we have a resource library online, and you do not have to have login access to get the resource library. So with that being said, after the training, you're more than welcome to go out there and get the handouts and the slides if you would like them. So I just wanted to let you be aware of that again, if you did not get a copy of the slides or the handouts, they are located out in the resource library under meal pattern requirements. And everything for grains says specifically grains. So yeah, so anybody can go out there and get access to all this information. Now, I think I have some schools on here today, and I just want to let you know, if you are a school district, you have been doing the ounce equivalent since 2012. It's just, this is new for daycares. Essentially what it is the grain amount that you're going to be serving is a teeny tiny bit more than what you were. So it went from it's going from one serving size to 1 ounce equivalent. And schools have been doing this since 2012. So this is nothing new for any school so just, if you're like, what, I don't understand what's different for a school district, you're not doing anything different. You've already been doing it. But again, this goes into effect October 1st, 2021. Again, we're going from 1 serving to 1 ounce equivalent. In the handouts, what we did give you is that we do have the new grains chart. And again, this is out there on, I don't know if you can see it. It's the way my lighting is. We have the regular one in the manual, but this one will say new for October 1, 2021. You can start using this. This was supposed to go into effect in 2019, but they pushed it to 2021. And again, the serving size is just a little bit different, but not a lot different, but just a little bit different. The other things that we have given you is how to use the ounce equivalent handout. We'll be talking about this one. And we have how to calculate. Again, this is another one. So one's purple, this one's blue. These are the two you're probably going to use the most. And to be honest, you're probably going to use this, the grains chart. You're going to be using this one where it's called using the ounce equivalent. You're really not going to calculate a whole lot just because these do the calculating for you. We also have out there, which was not in the handouts because a lot of people don't make things from scratch. But if you were to make anything from scratch, like any breads, and I'm not talking like using Bisquick, I'm talking using flour and all that stuff. It talks how to use the grain equivalent for recipes, which we really won't go over. Again, a lot of people don't make things from scratch, but we do have a deal out there, a handout. Each of these handouts are about 4 to 6 pages. So they're front and back, like three or 4 pages. Again, we have one for recipes because I didn't send this out, but it is in the resource library. We also have feeding infants, which we don't talk about, again, because you're mostly going to use all this information. And then the other one is crediting single serving. So if you're doing prepackaged bags like chips, or let's see what else, cookies or a muffin or cereal, anything that's prepackaged, we have a handout as well. So we didn't give all the handouts, but they are located in the resource library. You have access to this at any time. You can go pull them. But the main ones we were going to talk about again is the one about using the equivalents, about how to calculate, and then the chart, the Grange chart. And again, we're going to talk about, you'll see the sizing. It's not much different at all. It's just a tiny fraction of a bit more food than what you are giving, which we've always told people you can always serve more, you can't serve less. So I think a lot of you have already been essentially serving this amount. So it is just important to know that at least one serving per day in CACFP must be whole grain rich. So one time a day, you have to be serving something that is whole grain. I have some schools on here. If you're doing the school meal pattern, everything has to be whole grain rich. But on CACFP, only one item per day on CACFP does have to be whole grain rich. For CACFP, grain-based desserts do not count towards the grain requirement. So you cannot serve a cookie, a brownie, a donut. That is not allowed on CACFP. CACFP focuses on sugar, and the school lunch program focuses on sodium. So I just like to tell people that, because we'll have people too that say, I work at a daycare and the school has served my kid a donut for breakfast, and they can't do that. You guys have two different requirements. So I don't want you guys getting confused. A different grain product can contain different amounts of grain, and we'll kind of be going over that so you'll understand what we're talking about. And just a reminder, when you serve breakfast cereals, it can contain no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. Again, on CACFP, sugar is a big deal. You can't serve sugar items. So it is important that you understand that just because you have something that weighs 1 ounce does not mean that it is 1 ounce equivalent. And we'll talk about that. So if I had a muffin that weighed 1 ounce, that doesn't mean it's a 1 ounce equivalent. And again, we'll talk about it. And then just something else, this will make sense a little bit later, is when you do serve a grain, for it to be creditable, you have to serve it in 0.25 ounce equivalents. And again, we're going to do some calculating and that will make more sense. But it's on both programs, school and CACFP. You can't count a grain. You can only count it in 0.25 ounce equivalent increments, which we'll talk more about. So when we're talking about crediting grains, we're going to be using Exhibit A, which is the Grange chart. You guys should be very used to this and been using this for years. It's just been updated to go from 1 serving or 1/2 serving to a 1/2 ounce equivalent to 1 ounce equivalent. We're also, again, going to be going over the grain measuring charts in the handouts. These are the handouts from F&S. And again, these are located in the resource library. We're also going to talk about the food buying guide, which is also in the resource library, or there is an app, a food buying guide app, or you can just type in food buying guide and you can use the online version. The online version and the app are interactive, so I think you would like it much better. Something else is we talk about, they're going to be child nutrition labels or product formulation statements, and then it will tell you how much to serve. It will be on there in ounce equivalents. Now, again, if you use CN labeled products, schools have been using the ounce equivalent since 2012. So all CN label products that you have already say ounce equivalent. So they're already fine. So let's talk about the weight. So we'll talk about ounce equivalent by weight. So you can see here, this is Exhibit A. And so you'll know which one it is. We do have it highlighted where it says ounce equivalency starting October 1, 2021. Another way you can tell is if right here under it says like the minimum group size, it says 1 ounce equivalent. The old one will say 1 serving. Now, just as a reminder for those, anything on here that is in red is not allowed on CACFP. Those are called grain-based desserts. So if it's in black, you can serve it. If it's in red, it is not allowed to be served. We keep it on here because 1, so you do understand what can be served, and 2, schools are allowed to serve those items still. So again, sugar requirements for daycare side, CACFP, but schools, we focus mostly on sodium and other things, but they can still serve these products. So as you can see here, let's just take a look at this breadstick. So for a breadstick, a 1 ounce equivalent equals 22 grams or 0.8 ounces. So before, if you look at your old grain chart, it used to say, I think 20 grams and 0.7 ounces was the old way, but now we use ounce equivalent. Because these items have a lot of flour or a lot of grain in them and very little of anything else, that's why you can serve less than an ounce, is because it is mostly packed with grains or a flour type products. Now, the most common, we're going to take a look at this. This is going to be a label for bread. And you guys do need to be cautious of this. We have the same issue with schools, but we're going to be talking about bread. And as you can see here, it says 1 slice of bread equals 34 grams. So again, you have to take a look at the nutrition facts label. And it says 1 slice equals 34 grams. So we're going to come here to our exhibit A, which is the grain chart. We're going to go to group B and we see bread. That's where we have our bread, all breads. And it says 1 ounce equivalent equals 28 grams or 1 ounce. So all items in group B, 1 ounce equivalent is 1 ounce. So 28 grams is 1 ounce. So that 1 slice of bread does equal 34 grams. So you can serve it to all children, 1 slice of bread. But here's how we calculate it. If you want to actually do the calculations, you can do that. So we take it from the nutrition facts label in column 1, which was 34 grams. Then we divide it from exhibit A, which said 28, and we end up doing the math on that. And when we do the math, the 34 grams divided by the 28 from group B, it equals 1.21. Now, at the very beginning of the slides, we talked about how you can only do increments of 0.25. So because it is 1.21, it gives you 1 ounce equivalent. That's what it equals. If it said 1.25, it would equal 1.25 slices of bread, but you have to round down. If it's 0.25 and under, you have to round down. But again, like I said, a lot of you are really just going to go to the chart, to the grains chart, and look at your nutrition facts label and see if you can purchase it or not. So another example, we'll look right here. It says if you serve 2 slices of bread, it equals 44 grams. So if you have 2 slices and 44 grams, we know that 28 is what we need for 1 ounce equivalent. So you would have to serve 2 slices to equal 1 ounce equivalent, because if you divide that by 2, you would get 22 grams, and that would be too low for anybody who needed a 1 ounce equivalent. Now, 1 ounce equivalent is required for 6 years of age and older, and you need 1/2 ounce equivalent for which would be 28, would be 14 grams. So one of those slices would be okay if you were serving it to the 5 and under that only need the 1/2 ounce equivalent. But this is the one thing we wanted to show you. We wanted to make sure that you saw this. So we have right here 1 slice of bread equals 28 grams. We also have 1 slice of bread equals 26 grams. So you really have to watch this. We've had a lot of issues in schools with this. So if you are serving this bread right here that says 1 slice is 26 grams, you would need more than 1 slice for your older kids. It would be okay for those that are 5 and under. But if you had to serve a 28-gram slice of bread, this one over here on the right would be not enough. Again, we've had this issue with schools that they were not buying the correct bread. So if they were doing toast for breakfast, they would have to do 1.5 if they were serving the one on the right. The one on the left is okay. And we have seen this a lot. Just watch what bread you're buying, because it also depends if it's wheat we see because of the weight, but also because the way they might slice it. Some are sliced thinner than others. So always make sure that you are buying the correct bread for the right group. Again, I don't, people have asked me like what brands, I honestly don't know. We've had these slides for years, but just make sure that you're checking your bread when you're buying it, that per slice, it has the amount that you need. So now let's talk about this form right here, the using grain equivalent. This is what it looks like. Again, you can always go out after this and you can go pull the slides, and you can pull all the handouts. All of this is all in one. We always send out, just so you're aware, with every single training that we do, especially the ones online, we have, it says 1 per page and 3 per page. When we send out notes or when we send out the slides, you can have it the full slide, 1 slide per page, or it's where it has 3 slides on each page so you can write notes and stuff on it. So just it's however you choose to do it. Some people want the bigger font, bigger print. That's why we do it both ways. We give you the same information for both. It's just the slides. One is 1 per page, and or one where it has 3 slides per page. That's just the difference between the two. So now let's talk about the grain measuring chart. So Chain Nutrition came out with these charts. They're really, really great. The grains chart on pages 2 to 4 of this will tell you how much you need to serve. You'll find the grain that you want to serve, the grain item, and in the size column. You'll check if the chart lists a size or weight by the name of the grain, and then you'll find the column for the appropriate age. And I know it kind of doesn't make sense. We're going to go through as I can show you an example. So say we have a 4-year-old. So this is page 2 through 4. So if you have a 4-year-old and you want to serve them oatmeal for breakfast, how much oatmeal would you serve them? So if you come to the charts, we're going to show you how to do it. It's easy peasy. So what we do is we find, if you can see right here in this red box at the top, this is ages 1 through 5 years of age. And then we're going to scroll down and we see oatmeal. This is all in alphabetical order. Everything in these charts are in alphabetical order. So we're going to come down here and we see oatmeal at the bottom, and it says that you need 1/4 cup cooked or 14 grams dry. So that's it. If you like, I want to serve oatmeal to 4-year-olds, you can use this. It's kind of like a cheat sheet chart. Now, again, when we look at it, you just scroll down and go. You look in the age group that you want and you scroll down and it would say oatmeal. Now we're also going to talk about pieces. There's things in here that refer to piece size. Now, just make sure, the only thing about this is you have to make sure that it's the same size, and you'll kind of know what I'm talking about right here. So this is the front of it. So it says 20 cheese crackers, about 1 inch by 1. Thin wheat crackers, 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, and then like it has woven whole wheat crackers, 1 1/2 by 1 1/2. So it does give you sizes. Now, like for instance, on the thin wheat crackers, because they don't give brand names because it's a common one. If it's essentially a wheat thin, it's common to be in a 1 by 4 and a 1 by 4 square. So it tells you need 12 to equal 1 ounce equivalent. Now, if you're buying like the family size, not the box, the family size, but they have the wheat thins that are bigger, that are like 2 inch by 2 inch, again, it would be different. But as long as it's the same, I mean, clearly if you gave them the 12, the big ones, you would be fine as well. But you just have to make sure it's the same sizing when you do it by the pieces. So if you did 5 woven whole wheat crackers, which another name for that, as you can probably see, would be Triscuits. If it was smaller than the 1 1/2 by 1 1/2, then you would obviously have to give them more than 5. It has to be that same size of pieces. So again, what you do is you go how to determine how much grain that they need. for a 1/2 ounce equivalent. So again, we take our chart, it's all in these pieces charts, which are again, great resources. This is one that we gave you in the handouts, or again, you can go to the resource library. And if we need a 1 ounce equivalent, that means we only need, again, a 1/2 ounce equivalent. So anybody under the age of 5 still gets a 1/2 ounce equivalent, or if they're 6 and older, they get 1 ounce equivalent. Because before we're doing the ounce equivalent, it was 1 serving and 1/2 a serving. So now it's going to 1 ounce equivalent to 1/2 ounce equivalent. So we're going to serve a savory cracker. So if we use our chart and we need a 1/2 ounce equivalent, it will tell us we need 11 grams. So we need 11 grams to be a 1 ounce equivalent of savory cracker. So we can do this by a couple of ways. We can go into our nutrition facts label for our savory cracker, and it says here for 16 pieces, you need 32 grams. So if you take the 32 grams and divide it by 16 pieces, it tells you you need 2 grams. That is 2 grams per piece. So what you can do is you can do the math. If you need 11 grams, then you can do the math. And if 11 grams divided by 2 grams equals 5.5 crackers. So you would need to give them 6. But again, if you use this chart as well, it will tell you the same thing, how many crackers. So on the savory crackers, it doesn't really have savory. It has, oh yeah, round savory. So that'd be like a Ritz. You need 4 crackers or 11 grams. And it's 1 1/3 across. So it tells you specifically what to do here. Or again, you can do the math. But again, I think a lot of you are just going to look at this and it will tell you, or you're going to just go, if you saw the 16 pieces, you're going to go here to see how much you need. So let's talk about the food buying guide. So again, the food buying guide, also to plug, we have other trainings coming up. We have a lot of people on here. So I just want to let you know, so we're doing ounce equivalent right now. If you have not been told, in order for your application and agreement to be approved with us for the next fiscal year, then you have to attend the CACFP training manual training. And the ones that will count to go, that you have to, someone has to attend for you to do, it's the all-day training that we do every year. You can do it in August, September, or October, and those are in the training calendar right now. Where do we find these in the resource library? You'll find these under the meal pattern section, meal pattern requirements, and it says grains on there, and it says the name of each of the handouts. But you can also, if you want to also go to the handouts, you can go down to, in the resource library, go to training, and down in the training section, there's also the slides and the handouts. So you can find it in 2 places. But we're also going to be doing a food buying guide training in July. It's a 1-hour training. So I just want to let you know about that as well. But we just want to remind people that for your application to be approved, so you can continue to be on the program, someone has to attend the all-day training, and it starts in August, September, October. They're in person and via Zoom. So I just want to let you know that. So people aren't, we've been trying to let people know, but just so that way they are, just so you are aware. And there's also an app. Again, you just type in food buying guide and you can get the app. But in the food buying guide, it also gives you a food buying guide calculator and the grains. Again, this is what also is in there. The food buying guide is a great resource, but you can see examples of foods that are creditable. Grain exhibit A, the grain component for child nutrition programs. So that's for all programs. Criteria for determining acceptable grain items. So if you ever want more information in anything on child nutrition at all, it can be served if it's in the food buying guide, or hold on, if it's in the crediting handbook. And this year, when we send out manuals, this is in the resource library right now under meal pattern requirements, but we're sending a copy to every center. So you will get this as well. If it's in here, it will tell you, if you look it up, an item you want to serve, if you look in the crediting handbook, it will tell you, can you serve it? Yes or no, or maybe. And if you find something in the food buying guide and it's in the section of grains, you can serve it as a grain. If you find something in the vegetable section, you can serve it as a vegetable. So if you ever in general don't know what, like I have a lot of people that want to change their recipes up. They're like, I don't know what to serve. I tell them the first thing is use this book, the crediting handbook, or go to the food buying guide and look at food items in there. If it's in there, you can serve it on the program. So this is what the hard copy looks like. Again, the food buying guide is located in the resource library under meal pattern requirements. This is the hard copy, the PDF, not the one that is interactive. But right here, it will tell you. And I had some questions after this. I'm going to stay on. I had some people asking me how to use this book a little bit, how to determine pasta, how much to serve. We will definitely help you out with that. So what this tells us right here is if you look in the food buying guide, if you want to serve brown long grain rice, which brown rice is a whole grain. If you want to serve, if you buy a pound of it, it will give you 15.5 1/2 cups cooked. So if you can also come here to the grains chart and it will tell you down in group H, rice, it says that you need a 1/2 cup cooked equals 1 ounce equivalent. So it gives you a lot of really good information. So it will give that, if you have a pound, it essentially means you can feed 15 kids because it gives you 15.5 1/2 cups cooked. Or if you had 30 kids under the age of 5, 1 pound will feed 30 kids, the 1/2 ounce equivalent. So there are other methods, and we talked about CN labels. If you look here, this is a CN label. Again, schools have been doing the ounce equivalent since 2012. So as you can see here, it says 2 ounce equivalent meat alternate, 2 ounce equivalent grains. If you have been using the meal pack, if you've been using CN labels, they're all fine. They all say grain, they all say ounce equivalent. They have for several years. So how do you enter the amount of crackers served per meal in the menu planning book? The number of crackers, number of ounce equivalent servings, or number of pounds. You do nothing different than you've done in the past. If you serve 2 16-ounce boxes, you can do that. However you've written it in the past, you can always write it the exact same way on your menu assert forms. There is no different. The only thing that is different is just that instead of calling it a 1 serving, we're now calling it 1 ounce equivalent, and the amount is just a tiny bit larger. So an example too is, and I do know this one for sure, but in group B, the one that is your main one that you always do, like your bread. So if you are serving 2 pounds of bread, continue to write 2 pounds of bread on your menu assert forms. You don't have to do anything different than what you did before. In group B, in the old 1 serving, it used to be 1 serving equaled 25 grams or 0.9 ounces. The new 1 ounce equivalent in the same group B, it's now 1 ounce equivalent equals 28 grams or 1 ounce. So we're literally talking in group B, it's going up 3 grams and going up 0.1 gram. So the serving size is not going up very much. It's going up very little, but it is going up just a smidge. And they're calling it, instead of 1 serving, it's now 1 ounce equivalent. But it's a great question. We actually get that a lot. You do not record anything any differently. You just do things the way you have always done them. Now, if you've had a product formulation statement, it's the same thing. It's going to tell you the manufacturer should be putting it on here as ounce equivalent. They have to do the math. They have to be using the food buying guide. So nothing has really changed. Like you do not, if you're using a CN label or anything like that, you do not have to get new ones. Because everybody's used to doing this and they've been doing it for a long time. So I don't want anybody panicking like, great, now we have to get new everything. They have been putting ounce equivalent on there since 2012. So here's some additional information. If the grain you are serving is lighter in weight than the item on the grains chart, please be aware of that. So an example of, say it says it's a 1 inch by 1 inch, and the ones you're buying are like mini. So let's just say it's Cheez-Its. And Cheez-Its on here say 1 inch by 1 inch, and maybe instead it's goldfish. And you're using the same crediting information. So you're using the Cheez-Its, you can't use it for goldfish. I mean, goldfish are in here, but you, again, it has to be 1 inch by 1 inch to use this size. So just make sure you're using the right one. If there's no weight listed on the package, so let's just say it says 1 slice of bread, but it doesn't say how many grams that 1 slice is, then I would definitely want to use a different product. If it's not listed in the food buying guide or grains chart. So again, if it's not in the accrediting handbook, if it's not in the food buying guide, or if you can't find the item on here, I would not serve the item. That means it's not allowable for CACFP. So again, or before you serve it, if you can't find it anywhere, talk to your consultant or ask us here at the office. If it's not on a CN label or a product formulation statement, again, I would probably look for another or a different product to serve. So again, in the resource library, we have all these handouts. We have the ounce equivalent. This is the one you're mostly going to want. You're going to love this one, the ounce equivalent. We have the new chart out there, and then the grains chart specifically says October 1, 2021 in the heading, so that way you're not getting confused. And I don't really think you're going to use the calculating. I think you're going to use these two the most. Now, I've heard a lot of people with COVID that they have been doing the prepackaged items like chips and muffins and stuff that are prepackaged. And we do have one out there for prepackaged food items. So I think you'll use that one a lot too. This is what it looks like because it has like the chips and the muffin. It has these items down here as well. So again, you're going to use the grain ounce equivalent section of these handouts, and they're all in the mill pattern. Again, they're all under mill patterns, or if you want just some of the, like you want the whole packet, the slides and everything I sent this morning, that is under training. So under training, it's going to show all the slides and the handouts, but then there's more handouts, or if you want them individually, they're under the mill pattern. Under mill pattern requirements, and also the food buying guide is located out there as well. Exhibit A is in the food buying guide, but again, which is the grains chart, it's in the food buying guide, but it's also a separate, you can just do separate, and it's front and back. It's two pages. Well, that's all we have for ounce equivalent. It doesn't take very long to go through this. Again, it's kind of hard to describe a little bit because it's essentially, we're just increasing the serving size a little bit and we're renaming it. But just make sure, I think a lot of people, when it comes to the grain requirement, you guys have always been serving just a little bit more. But again, just be aware of your sliced bread for your older kids. I think I've heard Brahms has a bread that's thinner sliced and it is not 1 ounce. So that's the one to mostly be cautious about. Now your buns, if you're using any buns, that usually always goes over, it's around 2 ounce equivalent. But again, just make sure you're using the chart like you've always have been, or if you, again, I think a lot of you are going to be using the one that has the crackers and stuff on it that shows you how many you need to do based on what it is and the size of the item. But just write down things like you always have been. There's no change in that. So if you're serving 2 pounds of bread, or you used 1 pound of pasta to make spaghetti, you still write it down the exact same you always have. It's just, again, we just call it something different, and the serving size has increased just a little bit. So that is it. I hope this helps. I'm going to be on here for as long as I need to answer any questions. I had some really good questions the last month when I did this. We do this every month. I'll answer any questions. I had some questions about the food buying guide, but I'll be on here for a little bit. I will turn on the music back on. Again, if you want to chat with me, I will be here. I will answer any questions that you would like. Yes, so the credit, how it's kind of going to go for next year, we are doing something different. we've had a lot of changes in our office. I don't know if you guys realize that since COVID. We now have a director of schools. We now have a director of CCFP. Something that we have done is, this is, for clarification, this changes for all children. The changes for all, not just the older kids, but it's an increase for everybody, but it's very, 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 very small. So the increase is for all children who eat a grain on CCFP. But some of the changes that we've done this year, I think you guys will like it. It's a little bit more work on our end, but we're okay with that. We are separating the manual. So we're going to have a CCFP manual that's now like 250 pages, not 400. We will have an adult daycare manual by itself, and we will have an at-risk manual by itself, along with if you're multi-sided, we're gonna have a multi-sided section. So we are giving everybody on the program this manual, which is the credit handbook. So if you are on CCFP, you're gonna get this handbook. We are giving everybody the manual that they need. If you are a daycare, we'll give you the daycare one. If you're an adult daycare, we'll give you the adult daycare. If you're multi-sided, you will also get the multi-sided section. If you're an at-risk, we're also going to send you the at-risk manual for USDA. And if you have infants, if you're a daycare center, you're also going to receive the Feeding Infant Handbook, which is also like 200 pages. So you will be getting a slew of items this year, depending on what program that you're on. All of these are available in the resource library. Now, I think you have to click a link because they're too big for us to put on there, but it sends you to USDA and they're a PDF. But we are sending you, so this way now people won't get confused and they accidentally used an adult form and they had to use this infant form, or a CCFP form. So the manuals will be smaller. You're getting additional manuals from USDA directly. So again, it's a little bit more work on our end, but I think it's gonna help curb some things. And we thought these were amazing, amazing resources. So we are giving these to you guys as well. So you guys will get a packet when we mail these items out. So that is it. So if you guys need anything else, ask any more questions, we will definitely, I'll definitely answer those. I'm going to stay on. I'll put some more Beatles back on if you don't mind. I was in a Beatley mood today, so we had the Beatles. Again, I'm going to stay on. We will not send out certificates as it states right here. You just have to be, you need to be registered in the training calendar. The training calendar it will be up. This training will be there until 8 p.m. tonight. So if you're not registered there, then you can go out there now and register yourself. And if you don't know how, we have instructions again in the resource library. The resource library is where we keep everything, and it's much, much easier to find things now. So you guys have a wonderful day. I'm going to be here to answer questions and put on some music. Have a great one, guys.